expecting about 10 people over for Thanksgiving dinner, and instead of roasting a whole turkey like I usually do, I'm making a turkey breast. And I was lucky enough to find this turkey breast on sale at 99 cents a pound. So it's about 7 pounds. So this turkey breast cost me $7.21, and it will feed 10 people. And then I found this recipe online for a garlic herb turkey breast in the slow cooker, and I thought, that's it. That's what I'm making this holiday season. And the nice thing about cooking it in the slow cooker is that it will free up my oven, because when you're roasting a turkey, sometimes when you want to put something else in the oven, there's no room because the turkey's in there. So this year I'm going to have the turkey on the counter in my slow cooker. I've got a grocery bag on the other side of the sink that I'm using to put the discards in. When I'm all done, I can just pick up that bag and carry it to the garbage can. Most turkey breasts and whole turkeys will have a gravy packet tucked into the cavity. Be sure to remove it, rinse it off, and set it aside. I like to put mine in a bowl and set it in the refrigerator if I'm not going to use it right away. However, keep in mind that if you don't use the gravy packet within 4 days, you need to discard it. And once it's thawed out, you should not refreeze it. Now, the FDA does not recommend washing raw poultry or raw meat in general, because washing increases the risk of cross-contamination in the kitchen, which can lead to a foodborne illness. Best practice is to unwrap it and cook it. Any bacteria present is killed during the cooking process. In case you're wondering about the side eyes I was giving, my husband just came in and he was chattering away, and I was like, babe, I'm filming. I think I mentioned earlier that I found the recipe for this garlic butter turkey breast online. And the nice thing about it is that everything it calls for I already have right here in my kitchen or in my kitchen herb garden. I'm going to put these herbs in my herb grinder, and that'll get them a little bit finer. I could have used a larger bowl to make the herb butter. I tend to have a problem choosing the right size. For some reason, I tend to start small and often have to get a bigger bowl. But I made this one work. The most important thing when it came to seasoning with the herb butter was to loosen the skin without tearing it. I found running the spoon under the skin to be very helpful. The herb butter is going to imbue this turkey breast with great flavor. I reserved some of the herb butter to rub inside the cavity of the turkey breast while slathering most of it under and over the skin. Now I have slathered this turkey breast inside and out with the herb garlic butter. And now I'm going to sprinkle it with just a little bit of salt and pepper on the skin. And then I'm going to set it in the slow cooker and cook it on low for 5 to 6 hours or longer, depending upon how long I need it to cook, because I do want it to be 165 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside. So let's get this in the slow cooker. I'm going to set this down on top of the onions and the garlic. To top it all off, I dropped on some fresh rosemary and thyme. Now I'm going to cook this on low for the next 5 to 6 hours, and at the 5-hour mark I will check it to see if it's at 165 degrees Fahrenheit or not. If it is not, I will cook it for an hour or so longer, depending on what it needs. Now what you didn't see was how many times I washed my hands in between. When you're working with raw poultry, you have to be really conscientious about washing your hands. So if I had to move the camera, if I needed to get something out of the cabinet, anything like that, I washed my hands before I did that. And I did all of that off camera. So now I'm going to clean all of this up, and I will use a Clorox kitchen cleanup to do that, because it's a great sanitizer, and I like to use it when I'm cleaning up raw poultry or any other kind of raw meat. So let me get that done, and I'll come back when it's time to check their turkey breast. You'll notice that when I checked the temperature of the turkey breast, I checked it in a couple of places. This helped to ensure that the internal reading was where it needed to be. So I checked the temperature of the turkey, and it needed to be at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was more like 185. So it's definitely been cooked long enough. So I'll get these herbs off the top and then transfer it to a baking sheet. Let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then I'll put it in the oven to crisp it up. So now I'm going to just drizzle a little vegetable oil over the turkey's breast. I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 5 minutes and just let it broil. Now I want you guys to see that that turkey is browning very quickly. It'll be coming out of there in just a minute. So there's the turkey breast, and it is looking pretty good. And the skin is nice and crisp.
Now let's pour off the juices, and we can save those for our gravy. So here's my beautiful turkey breast, and it turned out wonderfully, and the skin is nice and crisp. Putting that breast under the broiler for just a little less than 5 minutes worked out beautifully. So now it's time for me to make the gravy, and I'm going to get started by separating the fat from the broth, and I'm going to put it into this fat separator here. And you can see how the fat rises to the top there, and you can also see how it rises to the top there. So I'm going to pour this in this jar to separate it. You can see how it's separating it nicely. You can see there's fat at the top. There's a little bit of broth at the bottom. And I think I'm going to stop right there because I need about, maybe a quarter to half a cup of the fat anyway. So I'm going to set this broth aside, and I'm going to come over here to the stove and make my roux to start my gravy. This video is brought to you by Aprondiva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com. Gonna turn my heat on so that I've got a hot pot. And you can see here, this is mostly fat. I've got about 2/3 cup of the fat there. And I'm gonna just pour that in to my saucepan. And I'm going to let that start to bubble just a little bit. And I've got about 1/3 cup of flour that I'm going to use as well. I'm going to turn it down a tad bit. And then I'm going to add my flour. I'm just going to give that a slow whisk as I add the flour. And you can see it's thickening up already. And I will admit I did taste the broth, and it tasted absolutely amazing. So again, to make gravy, all you need is a little fat, some flour, and then some broth. And if you don't have broth, you can take a bouillon cube and put it in a cup of water, and then you've got a cup of broth that way. So I'm cooking off this flour taste. All right, so now let's add in our broth. And now we're going to let that simmer until it thickens. And if I decide that it's not as thick as I would like, I can always just add a little bit more of the flour. Put a little bit of flour in water and then stir that in. And I think this gravy is a nice rich brown, but if it's not as brown as you would like, you can always add a dot or two of Kitchen Boutique browning sauce, or you can add just a drop of soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce. That'll give it a little bit of brown color, but it shouldn't overpower the flavor, because you just need a drop to give it a little bit more of a brown color. But I'm thinking this looks pretty darn good. I'm not going to add any coloring to it at all. The thing about gravy making is you want to keep an eye on it, because you don't want it to scorch. There's nothing worse than scorched gravy. So keep an eye on it and stir it almost continuously. You can see this is starting to thicken up. So now is the time to really keep an eye on it. All right, so the gravy is done. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into the bowl. That way it can cool there. And it'll get a little bit thicker as it cools, but it's looking pretty darn good right now. Now this turkey breast turned out absolutely amazing. Let's get it sliced up and ready to serve. My husband cut the whole turkey breast in half. So this is just half, and I've got the other half of the turkey breast elsewhere. And now we'll just pour a little of our gravy over it. So here you go. Absolutely amazing. For more holiday preparation and budget-friendly meals, just click or tap the link on the screen.